Let's talk about a reason why I don't like being around people. It's like pros and cons. I need to be around people, but I don't want to be around people. Cameron, and Jim Jones. And this is why I'm wearing my fur today, bro. This is one thing that I don't like. And I hate when brothers fight. Even when the whole Kendrick and Drake beef happened, like they ain't brothers. Like obviously there was some tension, but I don't like when I don't know, like when the facade is broken, like you have one of like for Drake and Kendrick, for example, and then when J. Cole was in the mix, you have like the three best spitters from that 2010 era and onward, you know, when the torch was kind of getting passed from Wayne and that era of folks, T.I. when he was on top. Then you have the whole Dipset thing. Now I'm a keep it real with y'all. So when I was younger, when it came to Dipset, for me, when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, the guy was Joel Santana. Like, I didn't start listening to Cam until way like years later. For me, when I was a youngin', and that's the thing, like balling, of course, I rocked with Jim Jones when I was younger. But the dude that like the guy to us when I was younger was Joel Santana. Like, and Joel's was like one of the youngest in that Diplomat camp. And also, see, for me, it was Joel's and then J.R. Ryder. Those were my two favorites out of Dipset back in the day. Because J.R. Ryder was a crazy spitter. So I didn't know too much about Cam when I was younger. I just knew that, like, you know, he beefed with 50. He beefed with Jay-Z. Yeah, I mean, like, that's pretty much it. I wasn't up on Cam like that when I was younger. When Dipset was really popping, Juelz was the dude that all the young dudes was looking up to. And then like there was this clothing line, because like Juelz had, he was, you know, you go to Macy's, you go to Burlington back in the day. This is before all the online shopping. Like, you go to the store, you would see Juelz and, like, you know, a little poster wearing like a South Pole, or there was something called Lot 29. It was kind of, it had like Looney Tunes and stuff on it. So Lot 29, the South Pole, stuff like that. Like, Juelz was the cool dude. He was the dude that we wanted to be, and he could rap. And then Juelz was young, and then he started spitting with Wayne with the I Can't Feel My Face stuff. Like, Juelz was the man back in the day. So outside of Ballin' and Walk It Out remix, Jim Jones, like, Jim Jones was just cool, like, to me, and I'm gonna say to me, but a lot of people in school wasn't talking about Jim Jones like that. Like, Ballin' was huge. And even then, like, check this out. I didn't know about Max B till way, way later, like after Ballin' came out. So, like, the age of the internet, like, I think, like, if you was like in the streets getting mixtapes from the barber shop, you wasn't knowing about certain people. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing about Ransom or Stack Bundles or Uncasa or even 40 Cal for that matter. Like, you couldn't tell me about too many other people because you had to get it out the mud back then. Like, you had to get it off like the mixtapes or the DVDs or something like that. So when Dipset broke up, I wasn't tapped in. Like, when they eventually broke up, when I was probably in like 8th grade or something like that, it ain't mean nothing to me. Like, I didn't care. And it wasn't until later I started listening to Cam more. I started listening to Jim Jones more. And ironically, I wasn't listening to Joel Santana. Like, but like they pieced it up. Like, Dipset, long story short, they was beefing a bunch of years ago. Jim Jones was on Hot 97. He was on Funk Flex with the whole I Got a Story to Tell thing, talking about how he was loyal to Cam and woo woo woo. I ain't watch all that. I just remember he was crying. It was a meme. But if you go on YouTube, Jim Jones always seemed to ride for Cam. Like, this is the weird thing about like these whole relationships, because now you got Cam and Jimmy beefing. You remember Cam and Mace used to beef? Like Cam and Mace were beefing for a long time. If you go on YouTube, bro, and you could just type in like Cameron, Jim Jones, Mace radio. Mace was on the radio back when he was like a pastor and all that. And he was on Miss Jones. There was a shorty named Miss Jones on like Hot 97 or one of them big New York radio stations. Jim Jones and Cam get on the phone. Cam gets on the phone and Jim comes out hot, starts smoking Mace on the thing. He's like, come on, like RIP, woo, woo, woo. You got chased out of New York, woo, 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 on some street stuff. He's, Jimmy, he was like, I don't like how you did Cam. I don't like how you did Cam. Like Jimmy really seemed like he got love for Cam, right? And this is what I don't like. I don't like seeing brothers fight. And even Cam, when he did his thing, now Cameron and Mace got the It Is What It Is show. And like, he was trying his best. I think he did well. He was trying his best not to violate Jimmy, right? Now, I don't know how they started like beefing again right now, but he tried his hardest not to violate Jimmy. Jimmy said something on a podcast responding to an experience that Cam and 50 Cent talked about on the It Is What It Is podcast. If everybody knows about this by now. And basically it turned into a public back and forth, right? On their own respective platforms. You then have Cam talking about, well, how can you take credit for certain things that we did in Dipset when you weren't around like that? You're not from Harlem and this and that. And it's just whack, man. It's just whack. Like and that's another thing. Like when you get business involved, like these dudes did business together, and it kind of just like makes me not afraid to have friends, but like I don't want to be close with people. When you look at like Dipset, you look at Jimmy crying on Funk Flex talking about Cam. You see Jimmy going at Mace. Mace and Cam was like that. They were the homies that grew up together. You see Jimmy barking on Mace on the radio for Cam. Like there's a level of loyalty, like no matter what them dudes say, you can't say they didn't have love for each other. But I hate how business is getting aired out. Folks is talking this wild high power and I did this and they wasn't there for that and woo woo woo. And at the end of the day, everybody, like Jimmy started to look like an opportunist, like in that interview that he did on that podcast. But it's just whack. It's just whack. All of this stuff is whack. The game's messed up. The hip hop game's messed up. It's just whack. If you got issues with somebody, handle it behind closed doors, gang. Like it's just messed up. Like and at the end of the day, this whole music industry thing, these folks don't be cool with nobody. These folks don't be cool with people. Look at 50 Cent and Lloyd Banks. You don't see Lloyd Banks rolling with G Unit no more. They replaced him with Uncle Murda. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Uncle Murda's getting the money that Lloyd Banks is probably wanting because he's going on tour with 50 now. Him and Tony Yayo. And there was a point in time you could look at Tony Yayo and how loyal he is to 50, and he goes on Vlad TV and sticks up for 50 and woo 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 like he ain't never going to go against 50. But there was a time Yayo and 50 Cent weren't on the same page. Like at the end of the day, like G Unit was dead and it was just 50. 50 versus Banks, Buck, and Yayo. Like you get business. That's the scary thing about not mixing business with pleasure, but like business with friendship, because you never know like who might take it, who might get a little bit, who might get greedy if money changes somebody. Like it's crazy, dog. Like it's frightening. It's frightening that going into business with somebody and you might got love for your brother, dog. You love this man. But then like the money, somebody's head gets pumped up too much and they start feeling themselves, or you feel like they're getting the cut they got. They ain't really doing the work. Like if you go back in the day on the beef, one of them beef DVDs, EPMD, they turned against each other, setting up robberies and stuff because one felt like he wasn't getting enough money and the other was something like that. Eric Sermon and them, Parrish and Eric Sermon, they started beefing over some chicken, over some bread. Like it's crazy. Like that business stuff, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. The business world, mixing business with friendship. Like there's some honorable dudes out there. I don't do a lot of business. I'm not a businessman. I'm not in that position yet. But I've met on a small scale some people who've done some honorable things. But the rich, when you taste that bread, when you taste that money, you might want to get more and more and look for ways and loopholes to get more. And if I can take advantage of this person, or if they're not missing what they don't know they're getting, you know what I'm saying? It's just shiesty. And this business stuff, it's just, I feel like it boils down to mixing business with friendship, or business with pleasure, as they say. It's just, if you was a bunch of like hungry young dudes on the block still with nothing to lose but each other, I think things would be different. Things would